The next primitive data type is long. And here I need to actually give this variable a name. For example, long value. Okay. And then I'm going to actually assign a value to this variable. Okay. This value is actually a very large value, and it's now showing me an error, and it says this value is out of range. Okay. So as you can see here, this long data type can only hold a value between these two numbers. Okay, we cannot actually exceed the maximum value, okay, that we can assign to this variable. Now I want to output the value of this variable to the console. So just type in here system.out.println, and then inside the parentheses I just need to refer to the name of the variable, and at the end of my statement I just need to put in a semicolon. And here, I forgot to actually comment out this line of code here. And if I run my project again, it's gonna output the value of this variable to the console. Okay. Now I want to actually talk about the autocomplete feature of the Eclipse IDE, and this feature helps you to write your code faster. Okay. So now if I want to refer to the name of the last variable, as you can see, I just need to actually press the Control and Space key on my keyboard at the same time. Okay. So for example, I just type in here LON and then Control plus Space, and then it's going to show me some recommendations which I can choose the name of that variable. Okay. So that's it for the autocomplete feature of Eclipse. The next primitive data type is float. Okay. So as you can see here, I just need to specify the data type of my variable, which is float. The name of my variable would be float decimal number, and I assign a value to my variable, as you can see here, 3.5. Okay. So as I said earlier in this tutorial, float data type is a single precision 32-bit floating point, and it can hold a value between these two numbers. Okay. Floating point numbers are numbers with a decimal point. Okay. So as you can see here, it's now showing me an error. So if I actually hover over the error area, it says type mismatch, cannot convert from double to float. Okay. And here we need to add the letter F at the end of our value. Okay. So in this way, we are actually making this value a float value. Okay. Otherwise, the Eclipse assumes that we are actually assigning a double value to our variable. Okay. So that's the reason that it's now showing us an error. So we must add the letter F at the end of our value in order to make this value a float value. Okay. So this is a very important point about float data type. Okay. So if I add the letter F at the end of my value here, as you can see, the error is now gone. And if I, for example, want to output the value of this variable to the console, as you can see here, I just need to type in here system.out.println, and then inside the parentheses, I just need to put in the name of the variable here. Okay. And at the end, I just need to put the semicolon at the end of my statement. And if I run my project now, it outputs the value of this variable to the console. So let me comment out this line of code here. And if I run my project again, as you can see, this is the value of my float decimal number variable. Okay. The next primitive data type is double. Okay. Double data type is like float. Okay. So the name of my variable would be double decimal number, and I assign a value to my variable here. Okay. So at the end, I need to add the semicolon here. And as you can see here, the data type of my variable is double. Okay. And as I said earlier in this tutorial, double data type is a double precision 64-bit floating point, and it can hold a value between these two numbers. Okay. So double data type can be used for more precise numbers, as you can see here. Okay. So now I want to actually output the value of this variable to the console. So just type in here system.out.println, and then inside the parentheses, just refer to the name of that variable. Okay. Double decimal number. And at the end of your statement, just put a semicolon and then run your project. Now, as you can see here, it's gonna output the value of this variable to the console, okay? So the next primitive data type is car, okay? You can call it char, but I prefer to call it car, okay? The name of the variable would be character, and I'm gonna assign a value to my variable as you can see here, okay? For assigning values to car or char variables, we use single quotation marks, okay? Earlier in this tutorial, car data type is 16 bits, and car data type is used for individual characters such as letters, numbers, punctuation, and other symbols, okay? Now I want to actually output the value of this variable to the console. So I just need to type in here system.out.println, and then inside the parentheses just refer to the name of that variable. And if I run my project now, as you can see, it outputs the value of this variable to the console, okay? Now I want to assign another value to this variable here, okay? So I just need to refer to the name of that variable, and then I need to actually assign a value to my variable here, okay? So now if I actually output the value of this variable to the console, okay, let's see what happens, okay? So here I just need to refer to the name of this variable, and at the end put a semicolon, okay, at the end of your statement. So now I run my project. As you can see, the first value is this symbol, okay? And the second value, as you can see here, this dot here, this is the last value that I assigned to my variable, okay? So let me actually show you another example. So if I want to actually add another value to my variable, for example, something like this value, if I want to output the value of this variable to the console here, okay, let's see what happens again. And at the end of your statement, just put a semicolon, okay, and then run your project. As you can see, the last value is this value that I assigned to my variable here, okay? So this is a very important point about assigning values to variables, okay? So let me now actually again output the value of this character variable to the console, and let's see what happens. System.out.println, and then inside the parentheses just refer to the name of this variable, and at the end put a semicolon. So as you can see here, again it outputs this last value that I assigned to this variable, okay? So the last value that you assign to your variable is consistent throughout the lifetime of your variable in your application, okay? So this is a very important point that you should always consider about assigning values to variables. And now let me give you another example about this concept, okay? So now if I want to, for example, assign another value to this variable here, okay, for example, this ampersand symbol, okay? So here I want to actually output the value of this variable to the console, okay? So just type in system.out.println, and then inside the parentheses just refer to the name of the variable. Here I use the autocomplete feature of the Eclipse, and at the end just put a semicolon and run your project. As you can see here, the last value here is the value that I assigned to this variable here, okay? This is the last value that we assigned to this variable. So the next primitive data type is Boolean, okay? As I said earlier, this data type only holds either true or false values. The name of the variable would be is okay, and I assign the value true to my variable here, okay? So as you can see, Boolean data type, this data type only holds either true or false, okay? So here I want to output the value of this variable to the console, okay? System.out.println, and then inside the parentheses just refer to the name of this variable is okay, okay? So first let's actually comment out these lines of code because I don't want to execute them, okay? So here I run my project. As you can see, it outputs the value true to the console, okay? Let me actually assign another value to this variable here. So now I assign false as the value of this variable here, okay? So now I want to actually output the value of this variable to the console, system.out.println, and then inside the parentheses just refer to the name of this variable and put a semicolon at the end of your statement and run your project. As you can see,